Written language is present in almost everything you encounter, from the memes that make you laugh to the names used to identify life-saving medications. If you're like me, you probably assume that the different written languages that have arisen throughout time are the results of independent events, and you would be wrong. I have researched the different written languages that have contributed to the modern alphabet used in English, as well as various other languages across the globe, and can tell you that modern language was not a spontaneous individual invention, but rather it is a phenomenon that has undergone thousands of years of transformation through various cultures. The first written language was a system of illustrations that represented specific things and ideas. These illustrations could not be deconstructed and rearranged to mean new things like we can with letters. Over time, this language was modified and it was made simpler. In this process, it was made phonetic. Now, language could be expressed orally in a way that is parallel to how the language is written. Finally, the concept of vowels was included, which made it the first true alphabet. So let's begin where it all started over 5,000 years ago in ancient Egypt. By 2700 BCE, the Egyptian had developed the hieroglyphic writing system. According to Jan van der Kraven in his 2011 article titled Alphabet, there were 22 different hieroglyphs which represented different syllables used as a pronunciation guide for over 1,000 other hieroglyphs. Christophe Rico and Claudia Attucci expanded on this idea in their 2015 essay titled Origins of the Alphabet, which was printed in the Cambridge Scholars Academic Journal. They said that the Egyptian hieroglyphic writing system did not count as a true alphabet because it was a library of logograms, or pictures, and not letters. In the 2017 article Proto-Sinaitic, the author describes how over the course of 1,000 years, the Egyptian writing system was transformed into what is known as the Proto-Sinaitic script in 1700 BCE in the Bronze Age. It is believed to have stemmed from the Egyptian writing system based on the appearance and names of the letters, and was the first alphabet with symbols representing specific consonants. While the Egyptian language was not considered a true alphabet, it was a breakthrough in the way that human beings communicated with each other. This Proto-Sinaitic script would continue to travel across Africa, West Asia, India, and most importantly, the Mediterranean, where it was absorbed by the Phoenician people. The Phoenician language bridged the gap from the unilateral symbols used by the Egyptians into the first true alphabet. After the Phoenicians had modified the language they inherited from the Egyptians, the first phonetic alphabet was born. In contrast to the numerous symbols used by the Egyptians, the Phoenician language was comprised of only 24 different characters, and this made it simple enough that the majority of the Phoenician population could learn it. It was also important because the Phoenician language could be used to record words in other languages because it was a phonetic language. The Phoenician people were people of the sea, and they could use their extensive trade routes and maritime presence to influence surrounding cultures. This is described in the article Origin of the Phoenicians, Interactions in the Early Mediterranean Region, written in 2008. The Phoenician language is important because it was simple enough that a majority of the population can speak it, which is a fundamental aspect of language. Although the Phoenician language showed the first semblance of the first true alphabet, one important piece was missing, and that's vowels. The Greeks refined the Phoenician language to include vowels by reappropriating Phoenician characters which represented sounds that did not exist in the Greek language. This created the first true alphabet. There were many variations of the Greek alphabet, and this in turn led to many different alphabets which evolved from it. For example, the Cumae form of Greek was carried to the Italian peninsula, where it eventually gave rise to the Italic languages, one of them being Latin. The Latin language survived in intellectual and religious works even after the fall of the Roman Empire, and this eventually became the Romance languages. This last idea is the most important because this is where the alphabet that we use comes from. So let's review now that I've covered all of my points. Today I talked about how the written language evolved from what is written on the tombs of the pharaohs to what is written across your Facebook timeline. It began as a library of ancient symbols, which was then refined to be based on phonetic letters and ultimately included consonants as well as vowels, which can be used to write English, French, Spanish, or Italian. As you can see, the history of the written language is deep and winding, and it has touched various cultures across the globe and throughout time. So next time you laugh at a silly meme, thank the Egyptians. Okay. And now I turn it back to y'all.